Efed podcast, the podcast exploring our fantasy wrestling hobby, where the wrestling is written, but the characters are real. I'm your host, Mikey Unlikely, and I'd like to thank you for joining us here on the Atomic Dropcast Network. And welcome to episode 26. I hope everyone out there is having a better day than that bitch, Carol Baskin. Today on the show, we've got Chris, the handler of Chris Constantine Jr. and others. He's currently handling in Kings Road Pro, Wrestling Christ, MW Efed, Mainstream Wrestling, and UWL Online. Of course, we've also got the Efed Question of the Week and the Efed Spotlight as well. If you want to catch us on Twitter, we're at the Efed Podcast. That's TheEfedPodcast. Of course, we have the Discord server. You can get in there and chat with our own little Efed community. It's also a place where you can answer the Efed Podcast Question of the Week, ask interview questions, and you're not tied down to one tweet. And to get to that Discord, you would go to the Twitter profile, twitter.com/theefedpodcast. And right there's a link for the Discord. Click on that, you'll be entered right in there, and Fuzz will get you sorted out. Don't forget about the Patreon guys over at patreon.com/efedpodcast. If you want to support the show for as little as $3 a month, you can help us out and get the shows a little early. There's also some other tiers with some awesome benefits. Check it out over at patreon.com/efedpodcast. And of course, before we get to the show, let's hear from our great sponsors.
Defiance, an angle-fed boasting 8 years of continuous fantasy wrestling. Defiance offers opportunities for original characters, micros, a standalone website utilizing Backstage 3 script, and a forum hosted on the long-running fwrestling.com, as well as a roster full of some of the most experienced writers in the game. Come see for yourself at defiancewrestling.com. That's defiancewrestling.com.
Are you into MMA e-fedding? Check out one of the premier fantasy MMA gyms in our world, TW Combat Sports, housing fighters like Juanita Sanchez, Tommy Ward, and Rob Jones. You know you're getting the hardest hitting action with hashtag the TW Combat Show, so give them a follow on Twitter at TW Combat. Don't make them hurt you.
Modern Day Gladiators is a pro wrestling themed print and play game that uses a standard deck of cards and 21 unique wrestlers along with action cards to play out a myriad of matches from one-on-one to tag to in a cage. You can play solo, booking each show, but in this one, you're not going to know how this script's going to play out. You can play in a group, with each person playing as a wrestler, cutting promos, creating segments, which those are going to impact your options when the action inevitably ends up in the ring. To learn more, visit DriveThruRPG and search for Modern Day Gladiators, the best wrestling imaginable.
The Efed Question of the Week.
The Efed Question of the Week is brought to you by the EWC. The Extreme Wrestling Corporation is the game's longest-running roleplay Efed, having been established in 1997. With over 100 active role players across 4 unique brands, the EWC offers opt-in booking on all of its bi-weekly shows. It's home to Stranglemania and the 4-day wrestling festival known as WrestleFest. The EWC is built on its welcoming community with zero bias and no drama. All styles are welcome. Come check out the EWC today at EWC4life.com. That's EWC, the number 4, life.com. All right, this week's Efed Podcast Question of the Week. What in this game has made you say, F this, I'm out, and leave a Fed or take a break with no notice? I asked you guys to answer on the Twitter and in the Discord, and here is what we got back. At Booby Dean, number 1 is writer's block. That's the biggest cause of me flaking. When I hit a rut, I tend not to push through it. I tend to give up. Number 2, losing repeatedly when you feel like you should have won, when it starts to feel like, why even bother? And number 3, having a kid. All very valid reasons, Bobo. Very valid indeed. Up next, we got at Rebel Roads, when a Fed head joined in on roasting a good friend rather than do the right thing and stop it. Whenever I was jobbed out to anyone who put in no effort or really bad work, and whenever I was on a roster that I didn't click with, and when it was clear I was going nowhere in the Fed. There you go. Check out the Melinda Rhodes interview on last week's episode, 25. At Woke General. Most certainly, I was running a Fed that was around for a few years. Little did I realize there was a clique. They were bad-mouthing me behind my back and in retaliation by forcing them into matches against one another. They got upset, mutiny ensued, and as the board admin, shut it all down. At Omega Academy FL, finding out that one of the staff was actually calling the shots on a character of his own. Ouch. Fed head playing a character. Classic Efed move. At Armenian Beast, title match. Day before the results, 3 of the 4 judges congratulate me on winning the title. The results are posted and I lost. I asked the Fed head about it and he says this is better for the Fed. Did one more match I had committed to previously and promptly quit. Good moves. I like that. That's how you stick it to him. At El Perro Ward, I walked out of the same company 3 times since I've been in eFeds. The first time I was called the N-word that ends with the hard R, and then they took his side. The second time it was me and the Fed head had very different opinions on how things should be done. At official_SCW, in all honesty, a great many things, and then I always end up back. This game is addicting, and after 25 years, I can't ever get away, no matter how pissed I get. At Bard Gabriel, Ohio, a Fed where a staff member was champ, guy no-showed, and his opponent RP'd his ass off, and the champion still won. Calling bullshit on that one. Hate that situation. At UWF Chris Spade, I think I told the story before. I quit a Fed after they trashed my character publicly, then admitted that I got pushed because of the kind of character I was and not on the writing. And this was supposed to have been an RP Fed. This was around 2003. That's some shit. At JVD Rooster, in all my years, I haven't consciously left a Fed without giving notice. I have left many Feds, but always after doing the job or working an angle that fit for them. You do not have to agree with the Fed head or writers, but you should still sell your character's role. The wise veteran. At Dick Tweedless, the man is back. The 2 biggest things for me, lack of communication and favoritism clicks. Don't get me wrong, friends will always group together, but in a hobby that requires interaction to work out a story, people unwilling to communicate with someone outside their circle doesn't help. Yeah, no doubt there. At the Dropkick King, Hurricane Katrina. Does that count? I would say a natural disaster does count. I'm sure there are many people who have taken a step back from the game right now for this whole COVID situation. At RP Dan Ryan, one of our patrons. Refusing to cater to my every need, and also if the Fed head likes to fuck turtles, I'm out. Ooh, yes, I can see why that would be an issue, Brunk. Turtle fucking is not on my list of items I'm looking for when I join a Fed. At Sean_Warstein, another patron, and OG, and fuzz, and awesome. Of course, there was once a time where behind the scenes I didn't agree with the outcome of the results, not even my own match, mind you, and the GMs, owners, and myself got into a huge blowout. Turns out I was right, and favoritism was being played. I said F it and bounced. Booyah. That's like an old Stuart Scott. Booyah. At SVO Las Vegas, people creating needless OOC drama which becomes draining even if you're not directly involved in it, or real-life pressures putting a squeeze on your free time. Yes, the hashtag real life comes first. At Hero High Spot, one Fed for the way that they had booked me, the same staff member with his 8 characters to win every title the Fed had, and to take a majority of the card from the ones willing to participate. Another before my long break was for causing me to lose to a no-show twice for a championship. Sounds like you're in the wrong Feds, bruv. At Whammy Bar, I left one particular Fed because the Fed head didn't like me OOC, and the psychopathic kiss-ass yes-men who he surrounded himself with followed suit. I was buried in the Fed and on Twitter till one day I decided to just go. It was taking its toll on me mentally. Smart move, man. Get out of that situation. At VI Wrestling, just late results or long periods of inactivity. I get that stuff happens, but I'd rather a Fed had simply kept the conversation going, or put out a summarized version of the results to keep momentum going. Very fair ask. At TW Combat. When I was called a cheater in a sim Fed for creating the best possible fighter I could, within the parameters set by the Fed head, the owner refused to stand up and defend his Fed, so I told him I was pulling my guys out and leaving. At Project Holland 3, my own schedule and burnout. The only time I left a Fed on bad terms was recently, when I found out through a friend the Fed head was trying to get me into an embarrassing storyline. Generally, when I depart a Fed, I try to be as professional as possible. As we should all strive to do, at Drake Connors, the Fed head let my wife's stalker in real life join. That was some bullshit that made damn near everyone say fuck it, we quit. That's some weird shit, dude. I'm going to need that story when you're a guest on the Efed podcast. At the troll guy _ I have never left a Fed. They've all shut down before that. Ooh. When every Fed you're in starts to shut down, maybe you're the reason they shut down. Just putting it out there, not accusing. At Bad Girl Inc., I never quit. The Feds quit on me. Same situation. At Distorted Amber, outside of personal issues, only times I've walked away have been times where things have got too political, too cliquey, to the point it's more arguing and peacekeeping than actually writing anymore. I love the chaos that ensues in those kind of Feds. At Efed Wrestler, only when a creative direction was determined by all parties, then to get flipped 180 with no forewarning or care put into the new direction. If you view my work as not mattering, then why am I here? And that's a shoot. Oh, shoot. At Clown Rot. A team I handled were jobbed out to enhancement talent that were clearly a ripoff of the Gangstas. And it was legit a Gangstas match that had been typed out. We all get inspiration from things, but you shouldn't do it move for move. Never walked out on a company without notice. This is at Eli Flynn Buck. Was part of a mass exodus of one company, but that was going down like a sinking ship regardless of whether I stayed or left. Wow. Thank you guys for all of these Twitter answers this week. Great response from everyone out there. Really appreciate it. Makes me excited when everyone gets involved and answers all of these with fun stuff. Let's move on over to the Discord side of things. On the Discord, we've got Everybody Loves Will being forced to feedback shows because if you didn't, it was an automatic loss. Up next, we got Seth is Burns, admittedly an RP Fed that made a dumb decision I didn't agree with and still don't. Judges even admitted mine were better, but the other guy had to win because of the story, quote unquote. Then from what I heard, that dude ended up flaking 2 weeks after I left. So yeah, karma. That's what it sounds like to me, Seth. At hashtag Pete for Frappes, invasion angle overtook every aspect of a Fed that was once my favorite. If you weren't on the invading team, which at times its max I believe included 10 characters and 2 handlers, one handler only handled 1 character and left a lot faster than me. You weren't going to get over, even me as world champion. To their credit, they let me write my exit match and didn't change a word, thus avoiding a FWC screwjob. Wait, are those pretty prevalent, Pete? I'm not too familiar. At Scott Stevens. Yes, I have. Stevens, you wrote 5 paragraphs of answer. I'll hit the beginning, but I'm not reading this whole thing. I left 2 Feds when the Fed head treated me and my friends unfairly. The first Fed was when the original owner left because real life got too busy and his VP took everything over and stripped every one of their championships and contenderships and declared all his characters as new champions and top contenders. Dumb. The second Fed was when the owner and staff changed the rules to prevent us from being different or to advance further. Crazy. Crazy, Scott. Justin, whatever your name is. Crazy, Justin. That's, I read the whole answer, but I'm not going to read it here. So good stuff. Thanks for contributing, buddy. At Jakey. I had a character who had a talking dog who repeatedly buried my character. Half of the Fed no-sold it. Also from Jakey, I've taken breaks without notice just because I am the ass end and the resulting deposits from a bovine. Never from what a Fed head has or hasn't done. Thankfully, I am just a charming individual who has given multiple chances for redemption. If I ever quit it, it won't be suddenly. I think that comes with maturity, Just changing your philosophy on the way you do things. At Judge Megan, 2 reasons I went AWOL: horseshit drama that a handler caused with another handler who was my tag team partner, and getting shafted when others who have been there shorter than me were getting what they wanted, while I had to fight to get what I wanted. In the end, it did work out. Good, glad to hear that, Megan. At the Matt Loaf. Hey, shout out to the Matt Loaf. This guy has been power listening to every single episode of the Efed podcast and enjoying it and letting us know about it in the Discord. So really appreciate that, really appreciate the feedback, and glad you're enjoying the show. But his answer is, back in 2013, I was in Efed and didn't even last a year there because one day, when I accessed the board, I noticed a thread had been created by a couple of guys whose win-loss record was pretty damn high. The thread was basically telling everyone the only way they're going to be successful as them in the Fed is if they write their RPs the same way they do. It wasn't a case of them giving help or anything like that. One example they gave was that no matter what your opponent, you always got to shit on them and bury them in your promos, which isn't going to work for my babyface character. So I quit after reading that. Apologies for such a lengthy response. No problem, Matt. Thanks for joining the show and being a part of the new Efed podcast community. Guys, thanks for your contributions to the Efed podcast question of the week. That's going to wrap us up this week on the Efed podcast. If you want to be part of next week's episode, drop your answer to the question of the week that is pinned to the top of the Twitter profile.
Hey, this is Megan, Fedhead over at 5EWWrestling.com, and you're listening to the Efed podcast.
All right, up next is the Efed podcast spotlight segment. This is a segment where you guys know what we're doing. We're highlighting Efeds. Come on. If you don't, listen to previous episodes. We got New Frontier Wrestling. They are the spotlight this week. You can check them out at nfw.boards.net. NFW is a hybrid fed that works with angled and player activity. Players promote their match and banter with their opponents through Twitter, or they submit a segment that will be added to the results. Players may angle out their storyline feuds, while any and all championship feuds are competed through Twitter, hype, and segment systems. There's no word limits, just try not to worry about the length of your segments. It's a quality over quantity thing. Many a times has a shorter segment won over the larger segment or beat out a week's worth of Twitter hype. They've got 2 weekly shows. Each are set up to be run by an individual general managers. Tuesday's Collision is GM'd by Luther Calloway, and Saturday Trauma is GM'd by Isabella Santiago. Both shows get their own bi-monthly pay-per-view, alternating back and forth with 3 dual-brand shows every year, such as Invasion Tour in February, the Vlad Blackheart Memorial Tournament in September with the final event taking place in October, and the Wrestle War in December. Their big end-of-the-year show. Think of this as New Frontier WrestleMania or Wrestle Kingdom. Each show has their top-tier title and mid-tier championship. Collision is home to the NFW World Heavyweight Championship and the Silver Mountain Championship. Trauma is home to the NFW Undisputed and the United States Championships. The tag team titles float between both brands, and they're defended every month at both brands' pay-per-views. Come check them out at nfw.boards.net. They currently have a roster of about 71 characters between 2 shows. This is including tag teams and singles. They have a roster cap of 40 per show, and they still have room for a few more competitors. Their top singles wrestlers at the time are World Heavyweight Champion Sativa Nevea, Silver Mountain Champion Jasmine Matthews, Undisputed Champion Emily San Clemente, NFW United States Champion Adriana Salvatore, the Jukebox Hero Griffin Hawkins, the Haunted Eric Holland, the Underground Queen Selah Raisa Lark, the Semper Fairy Danny Anderson, Diamond Lash Donahue, the Ultimate Mindfuck Laura Bratton. The top tag teams they have at the moment are the Skills Vendors. They are the NFW Tag Team Champions. They also have Kawaii Trash Pandas Go, Martial Law, Bloody Fairy Tale, Onslaught, and the Second City Riot Squad. Guys, check out NFW this week at nfw.boards.net. Check out how they operate, see if it's a good fit for you, and if you're interested, hit that application button before those rosters are capped. nfw.boards.net. Tell them you heard about them on the Efed podcast. Hey everybody, it's Mikey. No, we're not back to the show just yet. First, I want to tell you about my Patreon. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh no, am I going to have to pay for the podcast? No. The answer is emphatically no. The show has been and forever will be free. No, Brunk, you will not have to pay for the podcast. However, we have been asked by a handful of people how they can help support the show. And we've also been asked, mostly by Fuzz, why we didn't have a Patreon yet. And I quote, "You stupid I can't believe you don't have a Patreon. I will hurt you if you don't take my money now." End quote. That was Fuzz. He's a scary dude. So with that in mind, you can find us at patreon.com/Efed podcast. Contributions start as low as $3 a month. Thank you very much for your consideration. Please get Fuzz off our backs. All right, guys, welcome back to another Efed podcast interview segment. This week on the interview series, we're joined by someone who I was not too familiar with before I started the Efed podcast, but quickly found the character on Twitter and found at 1%INC to be a great, entertaining follow. Soon after, I had his quote-unquote brother on the show, Topher Constantine Jr., and now we've got the good one, Chris Constantine Jr. Chris, thank you for joining us here on the Efed podcast. Appreciate your time. How are you doing?
I'm alive and well and buyers free. So that's a positive and fuck Topher.
That's the best way you can be in 2020.
Yes. And yes, fuck Topher.
And fuck Topher. Yes, let's get that.
Yeah.
Let's get out there early and often on the show.
Yes.
All right, Chris, real name too. You're like me, you did the real name, character name deal.
Yeah, I was just lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, my initials are CC, and so I thought kind of do like the whole Marvel deal with Stan Lee, where
there you
it was
go.
like
Peter
Parker, with all the other guys. So I thought I'll just continue the whole deal with that. So
so that's how we got Chris Constantine, and we'll get into all of that and the character and obviously much more. But let's start early in your fandom. How did you become a fan of professional wrestling?
Oh, I became a fan probably around 12 years old. So, like, the first show I really saw, my dad was Air Force, so we moved around a lot. And we moved to Germany. And the first time I got to really watch wrestling was, pretty much when we lived on a military Air Force base. And they had, television there, but it was only a handful. So you had the Armed Forces Network, two different types of channels with that. And then you had German MTV, which they would play American songs, but all the DJs spoke German. Was it Sky Sports?
Okay.
A couple of versions of that. And then Sky One, which was, I guess you would call it like ABC, NBC, Fox sort of deal, where they, have their own little British TV shows mixed with American stuff.
Okay.
And on every Saturday and Sunday, they would have around noon, they would have the recap episodes of WWE. So it would be like a Sunday Night Heat or one of those kind of off-brand ones where they're just, summarize what happened on Raw, what happened on SmackDown. So I really didn't get to see Raw or SmackDown until I got back to the States, probably 2001.
Wow.
So I kind of missed out on the whole Monday Night Wars with WCW. And I would able to, watch WCW every once in a while we would go, summer vacation back to the States. One of my cousins was a huge WCW fan, so we would hang out with them, spend the night, get to watch some WCW, but I didn't get see a whole lot. So, but Stone Cold Steve Austin was I was a huge fan of. Mankind, he was one of my favorites as well.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, you were bleeding right into my next question, which is who are your favorites? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Hardy Boys. My brother and I were huge fans of them. Like, what brothers wouldn't want to be a tag team like the Hardy Boys?
Absolutely, great timing too, with Edge and Christian and the Dudleys and everybody else.
Yeah, perfect timing with that. So, that was earlier in my career, or watching wrestling, and then kind of later on, Chris Benoit was one. I know that's kind of a touchy subject these days, but back in the day, Chris Benoit was a huge favorite of mine. Same with Kurt Angle. Like,
tremendous.
One of the podcasts I listened to is Bruce Pritchard. I remember a line that he said about guys like Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit. I was like, all that other wrestling stuff, that's all bullshit. But when he gets into the ring, it's for real.
Yeah.
So
they have a believability about it.
Yeah, those guys. And then later on, when TNA was starting to get on the Fox.
Yeah, Fox Sports 1.
Yeah, I started getting into that later on when, back in the six side ring.
Yeah, and they'd have the little news ticker at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, that was like the first time I saw AJ Styles do the Styles Clash. That just blew my mind. That something like that was possible, or even a Canadian destroyer. Like just seeing like the high flying flippy shit stuff, just kind of just seems amazing.
I agree with you. When the first time I saw a Canadian destroyer, blew my mind.
And then I kind of moved away from that, and then New Japan showed up on Axis, and I think the first match I saw. What is it? I'm trying to remember. My trying to say Japanese names for me it's really hard. So
sure.
It was the Tomohiro Ishii and the Shibata. Those two just bumping heads just make their matches seem like so real. Just the way that they would hit each other and just the thud just echoing throughout the arena. It's like, oh my god, I can't believe a wrestling match like this is actually happening. So I'm New Japan for a good while, and then once my son was born, I kind of got rid of New Japan app, and then once AEW came around, I started watching them more. But it kind of sucks now because I can only watch an hour, and then when I'm around 9:00 is when I put my kid down to sleep. So sometimes he, go to sleep in about 30 minutes, sometimes an hour. So I'm listening to the rest of the show on my iPad with my headphones on, and I'm not visually able to see what's going on. So that's pretty much my wrestling these days.
That's unfortunate. It's hard sometimes with family life and the kids to find the time to sit down and enjoy wrestling. But sometimes, luckily, we have this outlet to write the wrestling to get us through that.
Yeah, because my wife hates wrestling. She doesn't want my son to be anywhere near it. So let's see how that turns out. But
yeah, we'll see. I went through a similar situation and I overcame. So let's get into the e-wrestling then. How did you find e-wrestling?
That's one thing I really don't remember too well. I remember the only thing I really remember is WWE had this card game online.
Okay.
Like you would get a pack of like RVD or Triple H or whatever, and you would play it was just some type of card game. And they would have the boards on there, and that you could just talk to people, challenge people, whatever. You can create your own little lobby, bring guys over, talk. And one of the things that we would used to do that was just pretend wrestling, just typing out what we were doing, and bunch of no selling and kicking out after we hit three tombstones on them on a steel chair and
unbelievable shit.
Yeah, a bunch of unbelievable shit. And then eventually I got rid of that, but I kind of still like that fictional stuff. And so I just remember one day after watching the incredible, what was it, the first Hulk movie. I just got done watching that, and I got home and I kind of remembered the whole wrestling card deal, and like, maybe I can find something like this online. Went on the internet, went down a rabbit hole of wrestling and stuff, and finally found the Efed world. But a bunch of sites were like, no one had been active for like a year, bunch of stuff like that, and then finally I found SWF, I think.
Okay.
I didn't even read the rules, signed up, didn't even know what an RP was. I'm looking to see what everybody else is doing. Like, oh, I just talk. Okay, cool. And so, I type up my first RP and wait till deadline. Like, okay, what are we doing? Do I have to? When do we start? Beating the shit out of each other? And like, no, the judges read the RPs and we find out who wins. Like, oh, fuck.
That's not what I thought this was.
Yeah, because I don't think my RP was that great at the time. They like my first.
Oh, so yeah, I immediately regret the decision.
Yes, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get my ass kicked. All right, because like my first character was a character named Crow.
Okay.
Yes, very simple. Very.
You're asking all the questions for me, so this is nice.
Oh yeah, I kind of know what the format is now. So, yeah. So first character name was Crow. I was back in the day. Huge Raven fan. I didn't even know Raven from his ECW days or WCW days.
Okay.
I just knew him from my WWE days. Like I said before, I didn't watch WCW. I don't even know if I knew what ECW was until the Invasion angle happened.
You were into the skirt wearing Raven.
Yeah.
That was a good run. A hardcore championship with Kane and Big Show, WrestleMania, fun stuff.
Yeah. I just liked him just because he looked different than everybody else. Yeah,
sure.
The way that he talked, the way that he dressed, the way that he wrestled in the ring. So, being at the time I was living in Nebraska, and like, oh, there's a bunch of black crows around, so I'll just be lazy and make my character Crow, which was the face of Raven.
I can see how you got there.
Yeah.
So that was your first character in your first Fed. It was an original character.
Yeah.
Did you ever try the real wrestler Feds?
No. I don't think I even found anything like that. I didn't really dig too deep.
Yeah, very good. So as the Crow, how did you do? You obviously you started in RP Feds, and have you always done RP Feds?
Well, at the beginning I was RP Feds. I didn't even know anything about Angle till probably 2017, I believe.
Okay.
So the Crow character at the beginning was just a goofier Mankind character.
Okay.
Looking back, and it was really shitty, and I don't know how I won matches, but
yeah, kind of walk us through the Crow's run then as a character.
Trying to remember that far back. My memory's not that great with stuff like that. So if you want to do a drinking game, now's the time to start. Every time I say I don't remember. There's
drink one.
Yeah,
I'm taking it with you, buddy.
It was just pretty much just basic wrestler. Nothing really special about it. That was until I started a feud with a group of guys. I don't remember the names. Take a shot. And we were, heated feud going back and forth. And it wasn't until now doing this today without their permission is kind of a big no, but the Crow character had a wife and they were constantly abducting her, constantly beating her up, doing this and that with her to the point where and they weren't giving me or, DMing me like, hey, can we do this? Can we do that? No, they were just being dicks and just doing it. And so I was like, well, fuck it. I'll just kill her off. And that's what I did. I had some gunman killed her when she was getting groceries. And with that, the character became dark. Yeah, it became darker. Those guys eventually left because I guess they were tired of losing to me, which I still don't know I don't know how they weren't beating me because I think their stuff was a lot better. But because of that kind of evolution, I started to get darker. My RPs started to get better, like more character development, more vicious with my talk, and I got most of the titles in the Fed, which it was like, hardcore, like your typical or back in the day was when it was like a hardcore 24/7 deal.
Yeah.
You write like a mini match, and you wait for the owner of the Fed to wait till the Fed
if the guy would kick out or whatever.
So you had to wait till the Fed head either counts it or the guy writes a response. So yeah, hardcore, like there's just a typical WWE titles, hardcore European, Intercontinental, World title, Tag Team title. And I had most of them except for the World title. And I was facing off against a champ, and the results never came up because the Fed shut down.
Yeah. Go figure.
So yeah, that sucked. And then after that, it was another Fed that my buddy from high school brought me to, was a GWL. And like my first match there, they put me in a title match. Like the thing was called the Turmoil title, and I won it, kept it for about half a year, and then won like a Intercontinental title, and then eventually won the World title there, and then lost it. And then like shortly after I lost it, the company shut down, and then I went to the Navy for 5 years. Tried to get back into into the Efed world, but it's kind of hard doing it when you're on a boat.
Yeah, in the middle of the ocean.
Internet's not that great. Even when I wasn't on the boat, my hours were mostly working at night. So I'd be getting off at 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning and having to go back to work at 4. And I wasn't that happy like during that time either. So, but yeah, once I got out, I went back into e-fedding and a bunch of feds I don't remember. WWO, ML. I'm thinking of MLW, like the actual wrestling promotion, but it was close to that. And then a bunch of other stuff after that.
So after Crow, what other characters would pop up?
After Crow was Kurt Newman, which I'm semi-using for another Fed. They're doing a tag team tournament where he's teaming with Red Thunder over at over at Southside. They're doing a tournament.
Okay. So you're dusting off the old character for the tournament?
Yeah. So the Kurt Newman character, he's not really like sexist. Always trying to get laid. Kind of How I Met Your Mother sort of deal. Just one of those characters that I don't think is really you can do these days.
Right. You could do it in 1999, but today.
Yeah, unless like you're in a crowd that kind of like gets him. Some of the people that I still interact with, like kind of understand he's they know he's a pig. They'll play along. If I'm going to do this character in front of somebody I don't know, then they might not understand and, would probably report him and kick me off Twitter. So I don't really use him too much. Like the last real big run I had with him was over in EWC, where was it 2015. Had a nice little run over there. I had it was either international or intercontinental title. I had it for probably the entire time that I was there, along with the tag team titles that I won with a guy named Shadow Man. I didn't really lose them because at the time I got when I left EWC the first time, I had just moved from Nebraska to Delaware and getting everything set up, trying to find a job, and I was just burnt out from all that. So I thought, well, I'll take a little break. And being an asshole that I was, I didn't let Mac or anybody else know, just because I was so burnt out. Like, I don't want to deal with any of that. So Mac, if you're listening, I'm sorry.
No show, no call. No call, no show.
It was a dick move, and I apologize. And hopefully you understand. But I came back later with another character of mine named Jack Tillman. And when I left EWC the second time, I let him know, like, hey, I'm going like a professional should do.
And we're all professionals. That's a stretch, probably.
Yeah. But the Jack Tillman character, I still keep around. I have him over at Southside. He's their excellent champion, their top champ over there. And then also in VR, Billy Danielson's place.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Then after that character?
So, I mean, I got a bunch, after EWC, with the Jack Tillman character, I pretty much just gave up on role-playing feds. And
okay.
It just became more of a job than anything, where it's like, I'm not enjoying writing anymore.
And what year is this?
Probably 2017.
Okay. So this is right when you said you found out about Angle Feds.
Yeah. What was the first Angle Fed I found was Hollywood Pro. I don't want to get too much into it because of the Fed head at the time. He only did one show, and after that, he left, did another place, and the people who know, and it's something I don't want to get into.
Right. How did you find Angle Feds, and what intrigued you about them?
The guy I don't want to talk about, we were cool at the time, and like, hey, I'm running this Angle Fed, and why don't you come over? And like the idiot I was, like, okay. And he did one show, and then he left, and then the next guy that took over was Hollywood HUD.
I'm familiar. Yeah, another good follow on Twitter.
Good guy. He runs the wrestling club now. I don't know if it's supposed to be coming out here soon, but he's doing a boat show where, just doing a wrestling show on a boat.
Oh.
Probably just a comical, one night deal. But so I was kind of like, didn't know what Angle Feds were really like, but I was like, okay, Twitter, I'll promote. So at the time with my Jack Tillman character, I had a manager, which was Chris Constantine Jr. That's how lazy I am with this Chris Constantine Jr.
You just made a son.
Yeah. So with the Chris Constantine, it was just a ripoff of Paul Heyman. I think when I first made the Chris Constantine Jr. was probably 2013, 2014 for the Kurt Newman character. Just kind of like a side character for character development stuff. And
okay,
like I said, it was kind of Paul Heyman influenced. And forget when Brock Lesnar came back from UFC with Paul Heyman and F5 the shit out of John Cena.
Yeah, Suplex City.
Yeah,
I want to say it's 15 or 16.
Okay, so yeah. Anyways, I was kind of influenced with that with Paul Heyman, and like with the Jack Tillman character, it was like just a rookie guy, eat, sleep wrestling, and didn't really like talking. So it was kind of
needed a mouthpiece. Yeah.
Yeah. So because at the time, like with the circle I was in, or like, you didn't really see managers. And
right.
Kind of my philosophy, like I kind of look at the market of e-fetting, like, okay, what's something that no one's using?
Mm-hmm. What's going to set me apart?
Yeah, and that's one of the main things I think with Angle Feds. What sets you apart from, Joe Schmo or the pick base that weighs 100 pounds and threatens to kill you?
How are you going to change from the last champion to transition into your era, so to speak?
Yeah, like that's why I kind of do with Junior. He has Ballet, which is his wife. Yeah, and with some of my other characters, I try to figure out, okay, what can I do different? Like I have a character named Zheng Cheng, a Chinese wrestler.
Okay.
Was it the pick base was? I had to write all this stuff down because my brain's kind of goes all over the place. So Quang Chen, and the pick base was Tian Bing. You might remember him from one of the WrestleManias when WWE was trying to break into China. They brought a bunch of Chinese Chinese.
Oh, yeah.
And so one of them was Tian Bing, which was in the Andre the Giant Memorial
Battle Royal.
I forget which year it was, just because I just came up with the idea because there's, no pick bases of Chinese wrestlers. And plus my son was being born at the time. Like, that'd be kind of cool just to have a Chinese wrestler around.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then another character is my Andrew Wilkow character, which is just a bodyguard for a good friend of mine, Devin Hurst, over in Millennium.
Okay.
And then also my Jack Tillman character over in Southside. And then he also tags up with Jack Danielson. Billy's one of the brothers, to form Brew Crew. Just Southern rednecks that drink a lot.
Those are the best rednecks.
Yes. And then, then I got the Ojima family as well, which was Rio is kind of, old veteran. When I try to describe him to people, I describe him as Red from that 70s guy, or that 70s show. Not that 70s guy, Mike Awesome, but that 70s show.
Yes, Red Foreman.
Where he calls everybody dumbass and
he's smarter, yeah. It's great.
And then I'm probably going to butcher this. Like I try to make the Japanese character names easy for me to type, but just trying to read them doesn't really work out. Naoki Ojima, he's like my super baby face.
I figured out if you just when it comes to those names, because I've been reading them off on these Fed reviews and things like that. When it comes to those names, if you just own it and just say it confidently, no one's going to question what you say. I know I'm not half right.
Just saying fast now, negative. So, yeah. So just he's my super baby face, just because I created him just because Constantine was getting so much shit. I needed some positivity in my life. So
okay, there you go. So let's touch on Constantine. How did when Junior? When did he come around, and what's his run been like?
So,
because he is your primary character these days.
Yeah, I think most people know me. Most people, when I introduce myself to people, I say, "Hey, it's Constantine."
Yes.
So the Constantine character. Well, we talked about Senior a little bit, but the idea for Senior, or the idea for Junior, came from Senior, if that makes any sense. So, was it probably 2018? There was a Fed called Kamikaze Pro, based over in China, or not China, Japan. And Constantine was managing a stable called the Dogs of War. Now, this was before WWE stole it, when, Braun Strowman, McIntyre, and somebody else took the name to face off against the Shield. And it only lasted.
This is Constantine Jr. or Senior?
Oh, Senior. Yeah.
In Japan, okay.
Yeah. So he was managing the Dogs of War.
Okay.
And it was Devin Hurst, Mark Storm, and my Jack Tillman character. That was the original. But eventually we got more characters, or more people to join. Outside of Kamikaze Pro, we would act like we were the baddest guys around, beat the shit out of people, dominate, stuff like that. But with Kamikaze Pro, they would make us into the shitheel characters. And so that's kind of where I got the idea from, because if this Angle Fed likes to write us as shitheels, and we're constantly in main events, some of the other guys weren't happy about it, but okay, that's cool. I don't care how you write for us, as long as we're, front and center with every show.
Right.
So with that, that's kind of where this being a shitheel came around. So probably end of 2018, I got burnt out and just wanted to get away from the whole Dogs War, Chris Constantine deal. It was a couple months later, I started getting that itch back. I'm like, okay, I want to start over, because I don't want to bring Senior back, and Jack Tillman as a talker wasn't that great. He's kind of a loner. He doesn't like talking. I don't tweet a whole lot on Twitter with him, just because I don't really have a voice for him. Just because when I made Jack Tillman, he didn't even have a Twitter for a good amount of years. His only mouthpiece was Constantine. So I didn't want to come back as Tillman. So I'm trying to figure out what to do. So I thought back to the Kamikaze days, And then, like I said before, what's the market for Efeding? And there wasn't a whole lot of shit heel characters. So, okay, let's do Ric Flair when he was, being, cheating all the time, eye pokes, having people that people to help him out.
Yep.
Just the classic stuff like that, because, like I said, you don't have that stuff.
It works.
Yeah, there's nothing like that, especially in the angle world. At least in my little tight knit.
In your circle, right?
Yeah, in my circle. And so, Junior, just basic moves. Only did a month of training. Fake it until you make it, sort of deal. Like his wrestling style based in the '80s. So it's like suplex. His one high spot is a drop kick.
There you go. I got to tell you, you and I need to get together and do some writing because we have a very like mindset and characters.
I was like, like side headlock city. Just get a side headlock on somebody and just have it in for about an hour.
Yeah, because no one else is doing it. Yeah, right.
So, and I kind of found out people like writing for him. It's because you got your regular match, like two guys trying to beat the shit out of each other. Cool. With Constantine, though, is like, okay, how many ways can you fuck over a guy to win a match? Okay, you can use brass knuckles, you can do pulling on the tights,
There is unlimited reasons, let me tell you. We'll get together and share notes after this.
Especially with the ballet as well.
There you go. Yeah, that adds a ton of extra options. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So where is Chris Constantine wrestling now?
Oh, like you said in the one tweet promoting this, I have him over at Millennium, where he's the NWE champion.
Okay.
Lions Road, which he's the head champion over there. I don't know why you guys did that. Like, I don't know why they made him champion. I know King.
You must write a good shit heel.
At least with Millennium, it took about a year. Like, I didn't get any mid-card titles. I didn't get any tag team titles. It was just a bunch of just trying to put people over, trying to make, stories as big as possible. Like, we, shortly after I joined Millennium, there was a brand split where it was Millennium and then Riot. And as soon as Riot came around, I was like, I'm going to start calling it the B Show before anybody else starts doing it, because I knew eventually someone, because you knew eventually Millennium and Riot.
The first person to call the other one the B Show wins.
Because I knew, at the time, I'm still new there. I need to prove myself. I got to get on top of this, because eventually it's going to be both shows fighting it off in some type of pay-per-view.
Yep.
Get a foothold in that,
get the fire the first shot.
Which eventually did happen, and I got my ass kicked for it, but which was fine.
Well,
I still got
the easy response is the B stands for best.
Well, I still got a good paycheck out of it, so that's all that matters. Get that main event check money. Also, Millennium, Kings Road, Mainstream, UWL.
Wrestling with Christ.
Wrestling with Christ. That's a good, fun one. I kind of like feds like that, where it's all goofy and stuff, and especially something that I can go off on, like when they start, especially with Wrestling of Christ. I kind of made Constantine into a brother love sort of deal, like that type.
I've been following some of those tweets. It's been a lot of fun.
Because like I said before, everybody else that was doing it was like, oh, hail Satan. And all right, let's go the opposite direction with that. Let's praise Jesus. And Constantine's just being he doesn't care about any of this. This is just his
obviously disingenuous. Yeah.
Okay, how can I squirm my way into a main event?
Exactly.
Which he did, and he won, and he became the first champion over there. But then next show he lost it, and I had this whole big deal, because one of the promos I did for that show, or one of the segments I did for it, was I took the title, somebody had coronavirus, and I hit him with the title, and he was cured. And and I was going to do stuff like that with the title, but then I lost it. And then so like, oh, well, I guess I should pivot. And it's like, oh, yeah, it was all a scam. Fuck it. That Steve, the guy I hit the title with, was a fake. Like I was selling, I said I was working with Jim Baker to make these hand sanitizer to help cure coronavirus and any other disease. Like, oh yeah, that hand sanitizer, that was total BS. And that was just water and alcohol. That's it. I took all your money. I sold out. Comical stuff like that. I like working with. I'm more of a comical character. If you look at Constantine's stuff, he's really just Daffy Duck.
That's a good metaphor there for a good comedy character, because he's always there. He's always trying to get it, but he's always getting foiled.
And that's the whole point. Like
that's what a heel should do.
The good guy should be catching the bad guy. The bad guy, wins every once in a while, but get that main pay-per-view, or get your WrestleMania. Good guy beats a bad guy. Everybody's happy. I cry and drink myself to sleep.
Babies are thrown in the air. Yes, got it. Awesome, man. Yeah, guys, if you want to check out Chris Constantine, you can do so at Kings Road Pro on Twitter, at Wrestling Christ, at MWEfed, at, I'm sorry, Rob Daniels, I'm going to try, IVI Ainstream, at UWL Online. And you can check out Chris Constantine at 1% INC. You have other Twitters you want to hit us with?
Oh, fuck no. If other feds that you want to check out, Southside's a great fed. Skull Kids, they have a fed. Go check our, Angle Fed, go check that out. Oh, what was it? I'm going to butcher this because it's based over in Japan. Yamashi Promotions?
Yamashi
Yes.
Pro. Yeah, Yamashi Promotions.
Yes, that is a great fit. I have a couple of my Ojima characters over there. Rio, the old fart that I have, that's Rio and Naoki. I'm probably butchered that again. Those two are like the only guys I write for, like competitive writing with.
You can't butcher your own names. I'm just putting that out there.
It's my guy. I'll say it however I want.
Exactly.
Those are the only guys I write for with their Iron Japan promotion, which is just 1,000 words. Something like 1,000 words. That doesn't seem too much for me. It's something I can work into my schedule just because I'm a stay-at-home dad, full-time dad. So. Like, the only time I really get the right is after I put my kid down for a nap or when I put him down for bed.
You can type 1,000 words while you eat a sandwich.
Yeah. I like when I used to write a lot, I kind of like, okay, I'm going to spend a whole day writing just because I don't want to lose concentration or I don't want to forget what I wanted to say. Like, usually I did bullet points, but it's like, no, I didn't want to lose anything. So like 1,000 words. I can do that in one sitting just fine. And it's not like stuff I've been writing for them. It's like more just entertainment than more entertainment for me.
Now you're trying to entertain your friends and yourself. Yeah.
And I don't really care for winning. So,
yep. That's a great place to be, especially in an Angle Fed. Awesome.
Like I got so many characters. I'm involved with so many places just because like the circle I am, like everybody's trying to promote their own shows. I worked with most of these guys for a number of years, and I just want to help them out the best that I can. So I just toss out characters to them. I do my best to sell the matches and just try to be best friend as I can to these guys and gals.
Absolutely. Awesome. Guys, catch him at 1% INC on Twitter. Chris, are you ready for the Twitter questions?
Sure.
You sound so positive. All right. Up first, we got 99% LLC.
Fuck that guy.
So, like, how does it feel knowing that you let some like rando internet bro create a comedy character underneath the Constantine name, even though they're like historically no nonsense business dude heels, and he turned out better than like CCSR and Sophia?
Fuck that guy. No. Yeah. I've known Billy for a number of years. So like I always had the younger brother character in the back of my head. Like maybe it's something I can do later on. It was kind of more like maybe do an MJF sort of like younger brother, but more upbeat and like wants to fight everybody. But then when Billy came up with that character, he's like, all right, I trust him. I know he's not going to fuck this up, and I know he'll sell it. So go right ahead. And the Orange Cassidy is always a fun character to watch. He's very entertaining. And then, yeah, when you mentioned Sophie, that was like a side project I was going to do because I brought Jack Tillman back, and like I still don't like having him talk, so I was going to have the sister of Junior and Topher like be her new manager. Is like, and what is it? She the pick base was what's that female manager over in MLW on the Mexican chicks? So
I know who you're talking about.
She manages La Parca and all those guys.
I can't think of her name.
Yeah, I apologize to everybody that's screaming.
Cornette's huge on her.
Yeah, I'm sorry for everybody screaming at me right now, telling me the name. I can't hear you guys. I'm sorry. This is
no.
Yeah. So
this is a closed room, a safe space.
Yeah. So I had her as a manager for him, and then a Mexican wrestler I did for a Mexican promotion in a couple other places. I forgot what his first name was, but his last name was Lujan. And the pick base was Rush from ROH and Mexican wrestler down south. I think he works for CMLL. Yeah, that didn't work out too well. Like I just didn't care for the character after a couple months of it, so I got rid of him. I got rid of her, and somehow Topher's still around. Let's see how much longer. Because like every Fed that he's in, it shuts down. So.
But he's a great follow on Twitter at 99% LLC. Awesome. All right. At TEH_CM. What is a guilty pleasure, like a song or a TV show that not many people know that you enjoy? It might surprise them.
So I was born in Germany. I was lucky enough to live in Germany twice in my life. First time around, the TV selection was even worse the second time, where it was only like 2 channels. So I didn't really get to watch too much TV in my early days. But some of my mom had recorded, or her mom brought some movies over for us. Some of them were Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Mary Poppins, Sound of Music. So that was my cartoons back in the day. So every time I see those, I get a little warm place in my heart, brings back memories, and I can't help but sing along.
Yeah, some real classics.
Yes.
At TW Combat asks, do you love Brian and Mikey as much as a fat fucker loves cookies?
No, Brian and Mikey, I don't.
I am Mikey, and Brian is our producer.
Oh, hey guys, I love you so much.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Obviously he does. Thanks, TW Combat, for the question.
I just know you as an Efed guy or Efed podcast guy, so.
There you go.
So many Mikeys around, it's just.
It's funny because that's why I became Mikey, is because there wasn't a lot of Mikeys around.
Fuck.
That and because that's what people call me in real life, so. Like you, I went the lazy route.
Yeah.
So, Moving on, we got at Dick Tweedless. He's going to hit you with the Efed podcast, Batista's dick question. Is your mom hot?
You know, you son of a bitch. You ask this like every week. Somewhere locked in your parents' basement, probably naked on some chair, eating cheese puffs. Trying to, make yourself laugh. Sad, pathetic little fuck. No,
she's not. You sick fuck,
you
Rick.
Sick fuck. Go get a life. I love this question, by the way.
Oh. Well, he also asked if she's single.
You son of a bitch. You disgust me. Go find a ditch and die, and my dad is still alive.
Sorry, brother.
If you're looking for some like granny porn or granny hookup, go look on the internet. It is there for you. There are horny single gilfs out there, and don't ask me how I know.
I get those emails all the time. Rick says, sorry for being absent the last few weeks. He's been dealing with real life, but he's back, and he's after them moms. Glad to hear you're back, Rick. Thanks for popping in. At youngno_7. My question ain't for 1% INC, but rather at Andrew_Wilco. When is Andy going to comment on the fact that Jack has a kid on the way? And also, what other side characters do you plan on throwing into Goat Farm Wrestle?
Well, listen here, you some bitch. I might have some kids overseas that I don't know about because I banged a lot of them, and I might have picked up some stuff from the hookers. But I might have some kids over there, some bitch. And with the Goat Academy deal, since Billy took over, I gave him a bunch of characters. My Naoki character went over there. I had a character, Alex Dillon, go over there, and then this go around, I have. I think I named him Yota, something like that. If I do another character, fuck, I don't know. I had one in the back of my head. Like I think there's a wrestler named Space Monkey or Astro Monkey, kind of on the indie scene. Just kind of pull that character and name him the opposite, and just have him make monkey noises. Just on Twitter. Like, ooh, ah.
There you go. I'm familiar with the Space Monkey.
Yeah, so if it's Space Monkey, or if the wrestler's name is Space Monkey, then I'll just do Astro Monkey, and because I'm lazy.
There you go.
I'm lazy in billing these characters for his sad, pathetic, Jim.
Goat Farm.
Yep, Goat.
All right. I'm Just Some Guy. 1 2-part question. Who's your favorite character, and how long has it been Hammerstein?
Hammy I've known for a good while. He's a great guy. Like the pick base that I knew him was who's the guy that does diners, drive-ins, and dives?
Guy Fieri?
Yes, that was his pick base when I first knew him. Great guy.
Very intimidating.
Yes. Great guy. Like I said, I've known him for a number of years now. He's a great character, but when I think of character, I think comical, gimmicky character, and I think one of my favorites is the Skull Kids. I don't know if you've ever seen them on Twitter. First time I interacted,
I'm not familiar personally. Yeah.
I would follow them. They have their stuff is just funny as hell. I first knew them over in Kamikaze Pro. I think they were just kind of like a throwaway tag team, but eventually they got, I think the character or the person handling them actually started using them, because it was the Skull Kids is Cold Skull over in New Japan. I forget what his name is. The nickname dude. And then Whisperer over in Chikara. Yeah, they're just funny with because they're say like they act like kids, but because they skull kids. Yeah, just watch or just look at their stuff on Twitter. It's hilarious with what they do, and also check out their Fed Skull Kids Wrestling.
There you go. All right, at Danielson_GOAT. What's it like being a Bears fan, even though you're not from Chicago, and knowing a friend that's from Chicago but isn't a Bears fan?
There's a reason why I drink. Especially when Jay Cutler was playing, and then also Trubisky and
Mitchell Trubisky,
yes. and Grossman, and everybody else since then.
I was really hoping you'd take Andy Dalton off our hands, and then you went Nick Foles instead.
I think just Nick Foles, just because I think they went with Nick Foles just because he knows the system with Matt Nagy.
Sure.
I think I'm surprised Andy Dalton hasn't gone anywhere yet. I was thinking Patriots, but
same. Who knows?
I'm optimistic. I'm hoping that they do well this year. A lot of people are saying, from some of the reports I've been hearing, they say they should do well, but I don't know. I mean, second round we got a tight end, and I think we had 10 tight ends.
You already had 9.
Yeah,
you had 9.
We cut one, so there's.
Yeah. So you still have 9.
Yeah. So let's see what happens. Packers will probably win again, or Packers or Vikings will probably win again, and as long as we do better than the Lions, I'll be semi-happy.
What's it like knowing Mr. Danielson?
I went to Florida last year around summertime, and I was going to go over there to kick his ass, but unfortunately that didn't happen. He was hiding somewhere. No, he's a good guy. I knew of him kind of off and on for a number of years, and then we were in a Fed together, and I approached him about joining the Dogs of War, which him and a guy named Alex Jones joined with the Fed that we were in. And as soon as that happened, the Fed shut down because of reasons. Yeah, and after that, like him and Red Thunder, we're constantly, on Twitter, just talking to each other in the DMs, just trying to figure out ideas, how bringing up storylines and stuff like that. So, yeah, he's one of the good ones.
Very good. Finally, on Twitter, at Catch Wakefield, there are a lot of characters with the social elite 1% gimmicks in e-fedding. What do you, in your opinion, separates you from the rest that fall under the umbrella of that gimmick?
Well, like the 1% Inc. deal I've had for since senior, and that was the 1%. The name came from a tag team with a Fed that I was in, where it's like some of the best guys coming together, and they were the 1% of the Fed. And at the time, he was the manager of the group. That's how the 1% Inc. Inc. came around. With the whole Rich storyline deal, I mean, there's some where Daddy's gonna win me my matches. I'll just give the guy a bunch of money. Like with the storyline with with Junior, he got his money. I had him as a pilot in the Air Force, so I mean, he made some good money with that. And then one of the reasons why he's in all these wrestling promotions is, he's in his peak glory, I wouldn't say peak glory days, but he's mid 30s or early 30s, and he already lost a bunch of years without wrestling, so he needs to make his money now. And he's not injured, and the way that he wrestles is pretty safe. So he's not going to take a bunch of bumps. Even though, I do have him take a bunch of bumps. A lot of times, I'll tell somebody, hey, or whoever's the Fed head or whoever's writing the match, hey, cut him open or do this or do that. And most of the time, I can find a picture of Cody bleeding like a stuck pig and post an image of it, and him bleeding all over the place.
Right. That's easy money for you, yeah.
That's one way of selling. Like other people will just say, "Oh, I'm injured, this and that and that." Like I'll show an image of Constantine like bleeding or stitches or staples. Like, fuck, this hurt. What is it? With the whole money deal, I mean, I just kind of show it like I don't know how he's different. I guess he knows that he's just playing a role. Like if I were to write Constantine, like, you know, do competitive writing or had to write a seat, like a character development deal, his whole deal would be he's just playing everybody. Like he's actually a nice guy, but he knows that he's, you know, in his early 30s, he needs to make cash now because once he, you know, later on in life, he's not going to be able to take this much of a schedule.
Sure.
So, and if anything, like, I don't know where I'm really going with this. I don't know how he's different. He's
trying to cash in now.
Yeah, he's trying to cash in now. And he knows that what he's saying is just to stir up people, and he just wants to get the main event spots.
Because that's where the payday is.
Exactly.
Yeah, obviously. Obs. All right. So let's skip over to the Discord side of things. We got a few questions there as well. Up first is Judge Megan. She wants to know, what do you think of the current state of e-fetting today?
I guess
Can kind of compare it to when you started versus now, and what your perspective
I never did, like,
is.
the MS. You know, I never did like the chat rooms growing up.
Okay.
So I think when I kind of noticed that e-fetting kind of needed Twitter, I thought it was a good thing because it was easier to find more people, find that, oh, there's more of us out there, and try to see what other people were doing. Which, I mean, the friends I'm making now, I don't think I would have made, you know, back 10 years ago. But, you know, with the good comes the bad. You find guys that kind of in it for themselves or trying to, you know, shit stirrers.
Yeah.
I think it's better these days. But I think you're seeing, I don't know how it is with the role playing wise. Because I've been seeing a lot of those places shutting down because I don't see. I think people are kind of more going to the angle fed stuff just because it's easier. You know, with the RP, some people don't have time for RP. I don't have time to write, you know, RP stuff anymore just because I don't have the time. So
thousands of words at a time.
I could do it, you know, back when I was still in high school or when I was in college. But nowadays, like, I just don't have the time, or I just got burnt out from it. I just did one for my Rio character recently, which I was really like, okay, he's in a title match, and you know what? I actually do want to win this. So I kind of like talked to some people who are still role playing, like, all right, look over this rough draft I have, and they looked it over and gave me some pointers. And like after writing it down, or you know, writing it all up, it was only like 1,000 words, like I said. Well, but it was something I was really, you know, happy about, and like, well, maybe this will open a door for me to get back into RPing, and then.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think the only way I'd actually get back into it would be, you know, 1,500 or less. But like
word role plays, yeah,
like the max limit. But like I said, I don't know how it is with the RP world these days. How many of those are left around? I'm sure there are plenty left. Everybody else is yelling at you right now again. But I've just noticed that angle feds are becoming more popular these days, and a lot of show, like, you know, 1-day shows or promotions are popping up, especially with the virus going around. Let's see how many of those places shut down or stay around after lockdown's done.
Yeah, absolutely. So Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think Angle is definitely more prevalent than it was, 10 or 20 years ago.
Yeah, and I think I always heard bad things about the Angle just because, it's just a bunch of guys or friends coming together and like the Fed head pushing their friends and stuff. But then you can't, like with some of the podcasts I've listened to,
teaming up or whatever,
with some role playing Feds. So it's like I know with the Constantine character, I
role play Feds. Yep.
Like I had to build him up. Like when I joined Millennium, like I knew, like, okay, I'm starting from the bottom. I got to earn their trust to put me in the higher title matches. Like I don't want to show them I'm some type of flake. Like I'm going to show up, do a couple promotions and just go black. Like especially with the Angle. Like I know when I ran my own Fed for, last year for a couple months, based over in Hong Kong. Funny thing with that was, as soon as I opened it, the Hong Kong protest started. So that was like perfect timing. So like my original plan was, okay, start small, just do it in Hong Kong. And if I still want to do this, then I'll start moving to South Korea, Philippines, Singapore, Japan, just kind of do like a promotional thing over there. That was, I got burnt out from that. And also my kid was teething around that time. And so I wasn't getting any sleep, and the small amount of time that I was able to write, like I just wanted to sleep. So
right. Burnout will definitely do that to you.
Yeah. What was the original question? I totally forget.
Just that to compare the current state of e-fetting to what used to be.
Oh, so when I was running my Hong Kong promotion, I tried to recruit as many people that I could, mostly Asian, because I didn't want an Asian promotion to be dominated by a bunch of white pick bases, which was one of the problems with Kamikaze Pro, whereas like most of the roster was white, but it's a Japanese promotion. So I would recruit. So I did my best to recruit as many Asian pick base characters as I could. And then I kind of opened it up to everybody. Most of the people that came I knew, but there are a handful that I didn't know. And I wasn't really, I'm just not going to trust you and like trust you right off the ball. Like, you kind of have to show me what you can do if I've never heard of you before. And so like a lot of them like kind of showed up for a couple of weeks and then went away. There was one where she changed her pick base like 5 times or went back to her old pick base, and then she eventually left. So it's with the Angle stuff, you're trying to make a story. You're trying to make a story as long as possible. And if the owner of the Fed, is putting this much time and effort into the story, and then you just to this person that they don't know, and then they just walk off and don't reply back to DMs and stuff. Well, that's a storyline that goes down the drain, and you got to start all over with something else. So especially if you want to put the title on somebody, the top title on somebody, somebody that you got to trust. And someone that that's going to show up, which was with the RP stuff. I guess you can make the argument where it's kind of more
performance based.
Yeah, performance based.
And in Angle Fed, really, it is too. I mean, participation would typically dictate your champions.
Yeah, and like kind of what makes your character different from everybody else. That's like I say with the whole Constantine deal. My Constantine character is made for Angle stuff. I don't know if I could do like I said before. I don't think I would do an art or make Junior an RP character just because I don't want the lure of him just being a shit heel to go away with the CD stuff.
Right, and keep on building and developing the character.
Yeah,
well, very good. Up next, we got Rebel asking a question: why haven't you feuded with Griffin Hawkins yet? We all want to see the Efed version of Terry Bogart and Grease Howard fight it out. I can see Griffin shaking his fist at Constantine, growling, "Chris," and Constantine responding, "Come on."
I've known Griffin with her time over in EWC. Great guy. I'm surprised that we never really faced each other over there. I think it was just because both our guys were on two separate brands. So, but yeah, I'd love to face off against Griffin. I think the only thing is I don't think he does angles, and I forget which RP feds he's in. So maybe one day.
I'm sure when he hears this, he'll be reaching out to you about that.
Yeah.
Good deal. All right, finally, we got Jakey in the Discord. Does Topher prefer Velcro over shoelaces?
Shoelaces. Velcro, I'm not a 2-year-old.
Well, no, does Topher prefer Velcro over shoelaces?
Topher, yeah, no, he's totally Velcro. Yeah, he's a 2-year-old.
He's double strapping it.
Yeah, and he got like stickers on him. Got little My Little Pony stickers on it, and did you know that he's a brony bro, or was it?
He's a
brony?
brony.
Yeah, no, pony bro. My Little
Pony bro. Yeah, it's a brony.
Yeah, brony.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the word.
Yeah, that's awesome. I myself am not a brony, but to each their own.
Good.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, that's what we got for interview questions from the crowd, from myself. Before we go, I want to give you an opportunity to shout out to anybody you haven't yet, or shout out again to anybody you have, or tell Topher to fuck off again. So the floor is yours. Give any links you want to give as well.
Yeah, fuck Topher. What was it? Rob Daniels told me to talk about our little feud that's been going on for almost a year. What was it? Yeah, he's fired me. I kicked his ass. He's kicked my ass. We've done this from NVR to mainstream to UWL. We've changed titles between one another. What was it? We just did a kind of Bret Hart's Stone Cold kind of double turn on each other on the latest UWL pay-per-view. So right now, with most of the promotions, I am turning babyface. So wow. I'm not doing the heel stuff. Like, I think the only place I'm doing the heel stuff now is over at Millennium. Like, if anybody asks why I'm still being an asshole over there and I'm being a good guy everywhere else, that's because in Dimension 302, that's the asshole Constantine. And in Dimension 402, that's the good Constantine. And they share Twitter.
There you have it.
So if anybody asks, that's the deal. So, so anyways.
Shout out to Rob.
Yeah, shout out to Rob. We just did a just did a turn over there, which I think the original plan was that Rob was going to hit Olivia, Junior's wife. And that would be kind of the, like, oh my God, Rob's turned. But some miscommunication and maybe people forgot about it, but that didn't happen. So instead, the people just cheered me, and Rob wasn't happy about it. But I think we'll probably try to put in that Olivia getting hit deal somewhere down the line.
Anything else you want to touch on?
Oh, it's 11:50, man. I'm tired.
Same. All right, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up then. Guys, follow him on Twitter at 1%INC. He's a great follow, very entertaining character, Chris Constantine Jr. Chris, the handler, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today for the Efed podcast interview. Really appreciate your time, and looking forward to broadcasting this to everybody else.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and love you all. Thank you for having me around still.
The game still loves you.
Yeah.
There you have it. Awesome, man. Have a good one.
Likewise.
And that's going to wrap us up for another edition of the Efed podcast here on the Atomic Dropcast Network. Shout out to our sponsors, the Atomic Dropcast, over at atomicdropcast.com. That's my other podcast with Brian, where we recap 1997 WWF Raw and pay-per-views each and every week. have a few beers, and bullshit about the wrestling from yesteryears. DefianceWrestling.com, a great angle fed and a place you should be if you're into angles. DefianceWrestling.com. We're getting a pretty large size roster now. I don't know if we're going to cut it off. That's Brian's call. But come check it out. DefianceWrestling.com. Make sure you check out EWC at EWC4Life.com. Great roleplay fed, over 100 active handlers, characters, wrestlers, a ton of events, 4 different brands. Mac runs a tight ship over there. Check them out, EWC4Life.com. Check out at TW Combat on Twitter. Great guy, looking for some Twitter followers, helping the show out. So make sure everyone out there who loves this show gives him a follow as well. Want to shout out to Warren for advertising on the show as well. We love all of our sponsors here at the Efed Podcast. And Brian, shout out to Brian for producing this week's episode. Guys, for Brian, I'm Mikey. This is the Efed Podcast, where the wrestling is written, but the characters are real.
On Patreon.